Everybody ready? Going live at the same time. Wow, that's something. And good afternoon. It's Tuesday. Well, fall has reached the shore. As you can tell, no shorts, no t-shirts, polos. We're not sweating. Fall has finally come to the shore, and that's a good thing because this time of the year, as nice as the warm weather is to have here, there's something about the fall on the East Coast here that just makes it a whole different thing. If you're into the romanticism, you just like it. People are walking the boardwalk and holding hands, doing all those kind of things on the shore. Families are running around, getting ready for the harvest season, just doing all types of things. So the heat is gone, but now it's time for the cool weather. You can sit in the house and you can watch us a little bit more on top of that. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to take questions and comments to get today as well. As you can see, I'm hostless. I'm by myself today. No guests, but I kind of did this on purpose because I wanted to kind of talk or let you guys kind of put in your comments a little bit more. And let me say hello to all my friends. Dan Franklin, how you doing? Paul, Frisco, all you guys. And I'll be saying something more as we get along, as we go along. But say hello. But before we do that, let me give out some prayers, please. First for my friend Bashir Ali. If you follow boxing, you know what happened to him in Detroit this past weekend, that they were getting ready for the fight with what's the young girl from the super middleweight girl? I forget her right quick. I don't know how I can forget her name, but Clarissa Shields. I'm sorry about that. Clarissa Shields. They don't know. I don't know what happened, but he was sucker punched, as they call it. And he had surgery. And then again this morning, I understand he had to go back because he started having breathing on the brain rather. So please pray for him that he'll be okay. But she was one of the nicest guys in the sport of boxing. A tough guy. Been on him a while, but one of the nicest guys in boxing. So it'd be great to have him come back and maybe we can. When I was doing my other show, he was always on there with me, come down, brought fighters in. He trained with him. He learned under the tutelage of Emmanuel Stewart, which doesn't get any better than that. That's kind of like having Ben Franklin as a mentor, right? And one of the top inventors, Thomas Edison, George Washington Carver. I mean, that was Emmanuel Stewart in the boxing world. So let's pray for him. Jeff Pennick, one of our former great fighters as well. He had emergency surgery also. I understand like a 5 artery blockage or something. So he went in, but I understand that he's come through, pretty well also. So, that's all these guys, man. These guys have the heart of champions. They work their life so hard to keep their bodies physically, but you never know what's going on inside this body, right? No matter what your age is, you don't have to be old. You just never know what's going on inside these bodies. So let's pray that all those guys are okay. All right. Now, the question I put out today was this: who do you consider to be? Well, it's 2 things we're going to do. 3 things actually. Who do you consider to be the biggest draw in boxing, and who is, I guess the other word say, who's the biggest draw? Who's the biggest name in the sport? And then the other question is, this past weekend, and I'm going to start with the 3rd part first. This past weekend, Deryanchenko, and I never know whether I'm pronouncing the name right or not, but he fought Triple G. A great fight. And a lot of people the week before that, they thought that Porter and Spence would be the fight of the year. But I think that just got replaced by this one. Now, I saw what all those guys looked like after it was over with. Man, that was a brutal fight. Oh, that was a brutal fight. But my understanding is that they all went to the doctors and everybody cleared okay. And that's the good thing about it, because this is a rough sport. But after it's all over with, everybody got it together. So I'm glad of that. And rematch, maybe. But if I'm a Triple G, no way. Just like if I'm Spence, I don't fight Porter again. That's it. Those fights like that can take an awful lot out of you. And the guy who gets you either next or after that fight, the one after rematch, most of the time is going to be the one that's going to get you. So we want to see great fights, but there's some more names be up there that can come, that to bring this thing up. A lot of people are still saying Terrence Crawford. Crawford called out Spence, right? Yeah, sometimes they'll say, be careful what you ask for, right? I don't know. And we want to remind you that on Facebook Live, we're also doing a survey. So if you get a chance to click on the survey and give us your answer, yes or no. We're trying to do a lot of things to help improve the show as we go along. So just give us a little comment, yes or no.
The question.
And the question is, what is the question? Since they're telling me, I forgot what the question was.
It's Foreman Boxing Magazine. Would you say?
The question is, see what I'm talking about? Is Foreman Boxing Magazine informative enough for you that to get your ideas, when you're following the matches? Do you learn some other ways? When you listen to us for about 45 minutes to an hour, do you learn anything, right? Because I learn a lot when I talk to you guys. You send me things on the Facebook to my emails. I learned an awful lot, guys. That really brought me up. Hello, Eva Roll. How are you? Eva is getting ready to help us with the First Lady thing that we're doing in February to help money for the Virgin Islands. Now, let me read a couple of comments before I get started because it's kind of interesting. And Eva is also the Legends. She's she's the president of Legends Boxing Foundation also, and a very sweet lady and very, very knowledgeable. All right, Mike Shelke, he's watching. Eddie Mustafa says Canelo is the biggest name in boxing. It's hard to disagree with that part. Only champ is because when you look at, I guess if you go by population, is that what it is? Population rules? Is that what it is? And so maybe he is. When everybody seems to want, like they want him, I mean, because the fight with Kovalev is coming up. It's going to be an interesting fight. Then, of course, Triple G saying he wants him again. Errol Spence says he'll consider moving up. So is he the new Floyd Mayweather, the new Muhammad Ali? Everybody wants to move up and make some money with this guy? Or do they really think that they can take it? I'm not so sure of that. Chuck Foreman. Hello, Chuck. How are you? Gary Robinson and two. Oh, that was an exciting fight. That was an exciting fight. Still to this day. Carlos Palomino. Great champ. Oh man, see, that's why I wanted to ask that question, because when people ask who's the biggest draw, and it's, the bad part is, guys, is that we can name one guy, but about a period from about the 70s to the 2000s, there was always a couple or three guys that we could name. Whether it was Muhammad, yeah, sure. Then became Sugar Ray Leonard, right? The Tommy Hearnses, the Mike Tysons, the Evander Holyfields, the Lennox Lewises. There were just 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fighters that people wanted to go see. Boxing literally ruled the airwaves for a majority of the 70s, I would say. Football kind of made its comeuppance, and that's why they had to go to the Super Bowl. It made its comeuppance with television, but because boxing had been on television so much, and people got to actually know the fans of the people that participate in the sport, not only the participants, but they kind of like knew their trainers. Angelo Dundee, Joe Frazier's manager, Yank Durham, guys, the Dick Sadler, guys like that. They knew the fighters, but they also knew their managers, because a lot of the fighters were colorful characters, and the way they described, or the fighters that they trained, it was just a little bit different. So that's why I say the biggest name, Canelo is, because Canelo has a contract out. You can remind me, but I think it's like $30 million a fight. Man, oh man, would I look to have one? I'd lose to him for one of those fights for that kind of money. But hello, Dan, Mac, Quintessa, Lloyd, Marnie is watching. Hello, guys. Tell me again, who do you think is the biggest draw? If it's not Canelo, the champ, Eddie Mustafa says it's Canelo. I don't know, but he says that. But it's hard to argue with that. I think that this fight between him and Kovalev I think it's a defining fight for him. Now you can say, oh well, he fought Floyd, that was defining. He didn't beat Floyd. 147, young kid at that time too. Even though that doesn't matter, because when evidently people thought he was there, but he fought Floyd. He had to fight with Triple G and a couple of Kell Brooks. I think a couple of other guys, maybe not have it right, but some of those guys he fought, he beat them. But when you start going from up until now, we're talking about 175 pounds. It's a lot of weight, a lot of power, a lot of strength. If he beats Kovalev, even though Andre Ward has softened up Kovalev a little bit. And I'm not saying his skills has diminished that much. I don't know. I can't, all you can do is go by their last fights, and he won his fights convincing. So it's kind of hard to tell. But I do believe that he is still a very valuable opponent. He's dangerous. 175, which means he's probably around 185, 190. I'm not sure what Canelo's walk-around weight is, that they always call it walk-around weight. But, he's been fighting 154, so it lets me know it's somewhere around 170. He's been around 75 and 80 anyway. So what is he going to have to come into this fight? I know there's a pound difference. It has to be. So if he comes in at 168 or 170, has he been training or not? So we'll find out. Now, before we jump back on to find out who Porter's going to fight, Garcia's going to fight, I want to talk about the Triple G fight this weekend. Great match. Who do you think won the fight? I mean, that's simple. It was that close of a fight. This fight was perhaps closer than Spence and Porter, closer than that. Because these guys threw bombs, oh my gosh, the whole 12 rounds. Now, I think that from an experience standpoint, in the crowd, Golovkin, Triple G, having been a part of those more than Derevyanchenko, I think that had a lot to do with it. I really do. Were the judges somewhat maybe more in favor of Triple G because they've seen him, they knew the name? And sometimes you get a guy that's everybody's so familiar with. Every time they throw a punch, right? Every time they throw a punch, the crowd go, "Whoa, ah!" It's like they think they landed. And people said they booed him afterwards, but they didn't boo the fighter. Yes, Lou DiBella, who's president of DiBella Entertainment, said, "I don't think they booed the fighter. I think they booed the decision." In both of those fights, Porter and Spence, it could have been a draw, right? If had it been a draw, I think you see the clamoring for a rematch, because I think fighters at that time, they figure like, look, I can beat this guy. I know I beat him. So let's do it again, right? That's what makes rematches. It's a good tight fight sometimes, but you give a draw in a very close fight where everybody feels like they won the fight, I think you see the line comes up a little bit more. And whether you're watching us on Facebook or on Provide, we still like to have your comment. You can send us to it, as a matter of fact, either way it goes, at our website, email, provide.com, RoroBoxing12, also at yahoo.com, for any of the other information. Let me say hello to Javier Gonzalez, Bill Smith. Next fight, Andy Ruiz and Joshua. We're going to talk about that one. Sharon Watson, hello. Larry Hicks. Man, if I could play like you did, I wouldn't be doing this. There's a group called one of the old time groups, the Coasters, that and I got a chance to help put on the show with them back in Boise, Idaho, early this summer. Man, you talking about a group of guys that can play. Oh boy, that Larry Hicks he was walking the floor with that. I don't know whether it lead or bass. It was a good toy. That's all I'm saying like that. But boy, did he have the crowd going. It was a great show. So hello, Larry, and hopefully we get you down this way sometime soon. Dan Mack, how you doing? Linda Crosette, she says she misses heavyweight boxing. Well, you know what? And I'm going to come back to that, but I hate jumping, but I have to. People make comments, and so the best thing to do is to react to your comments. You say you've missed heavyweight boxing, and well, who was that just said? Oh, Salazar just said about Ruiz and Joshua. I still say, if it's a dog fight, again, Ruiz makes this fight. And I think he wins it and probably stops him again. If it's a fight that, and this is just my opinion, and sometimes I know what I'm talking about, sometimes I don't. But in my opinion, I think that if it goes to a point that Joshua tries to be careful and goes the way of, I say the Lennox Lewis style, boxes a little bit more, maybe try to use a little bit more angle, stay out of the way of dangerous punches, anticipation. I think he wins the fight on a decision. I think he can. Now, we've been talking about for the last 3 months since he won the title, 4 months now, that Ruiz has been doing everything but in the gym. But then I'm getting reports that he's been going to the gym at night. Now, I don't know. That's our idea to try to give you information. So if you're going to, and now since everybody has a betting line with these things now, just about every state, I think, is you can bet on these fights. So our information is that I want to try to give you as close and accurate information as I can. So, but my stuff, I'm hearing that he's been going to the gym at night. Sure, he's been doing the celebratory thing of, hey, I'm the heavyweight champion of the world, but I'm still, I'm working and I want to keep this belt. So, but then I think that if it comes into a dog fight, hey, I don't know. I just don't think Anthony Joshua is made for those kind of fights. I always say this about Lennox Lewis. I never thought he was made for that. Guy was a technical boxer. Emmanuel Stewart told me one time, if he just didn't play chess so much, he think he could have been better than what he was. He's still one of the greatest fighters of all time. Let me tell it. I haven't said didn't see, but I think between Porter and Spence was a draw. So he didn't see it. Cristobal Morales, how you doing? Cristobal was a good fighter. He's out of Houston, Texas, too. Pretty good fighter. Undefeated, as a matter of fact. But he's also a first responder. One of the guys you call when you say, hey, I got a problem. Builders coming down or whatever, but he's one of the guys that you call. Ricky Stoner, another old friend of mine. Fenton Thomas. Hello, Fenton. Lemon, how are you? Reggie McGowan. I would say the best up-and-coming matchmaker, but Reggie's been out there for a long time. One of the best matchmakers in the business. Let's put it like that. And he's worked with some of everybody. I think, as a matter of fact, I'm not sure if he's doing the matches for the fight with Wilder and Ortiz coming up. We're going to talk about that fight as well. I have a few notes on that I want to talk about too. I have a thing that if you like to be on camera with us, we have a way now that we can actually, if you're on Facebook, there's an icon that you can click on, and you hit us and says, we hit it. If you'd like to be on camera, let us know. We can hit the button, you can come on. And we're going to be trying that for a while, to get your comments, let people see your mugs, since I'm the only one you're looking at right now. But the other part is in the heavyweight division, Wilder and Ortiz. That's another fight that I think Ortiz has to make it into a dog fight if he can. Don't get me wrong, Wilder's a dog. He's a pit bull. Ortiz is that German Shepherd that you try to avoid when you're going down the street. You cross to the other side of the street. That's who Ortiz is. Wilder is that pit bull because he's standing there waiting on you and he's growling at you. He's going to get you if he has to. I just don't think that these guys these days, some of these guys are not made up for these grudging hard fights because they don't have them coming up. That gets to be the problem. And all of a sudden you get a guy like Ruiz who got into that fight with Anthony Joshua. There he was. And we made Joshua say, hey, look, I don't know if I want to do this. So when he got knocked down a couple of times, it was 3 or 4 times. I forget how many times. But it was one of those times where I think it just got to the point that he didn't want to, he couldn't take it anymore. He just said, hey, man, look, I'll come back and get you another day. But let me go back to Porter, Spence, and Deryanchenko and Triple G. Because this is another issue. And I hate Julio. Julio's under the weather. Sanchez, who's normally with me, he's under the weather tonight. So he's not here because we had talked about this particular fight. The disparity in pay was a lot to me. Now, I got the numbers from that particular fight where Triple G was basically guaranteed something like $15 million. So I think 7.5 from being paid and 7.5 or something like that in stock. Deryanchenko got a guarantee, I think, of $5.2 million. Now, the week before that, Sean Porter and Errol Spence, got a total, and along with Darrell and Benavidez, of $6 million. Why that disparity? That's why I asked the question, who's the biggest name? Now, if you had a choice, somebody said, okay, this is the fight you're going to go see this weekend. I got tickets for you. Make your choice. Is it Porter and Spence? Is it Canelo Kovalev? Or is it Deryanchenko and Golovkin? Or is it Wilder and Ortiz? Or is it Joshua and what's the big kid name? Ruiz. Yeah. See what I'm talking about? What is it? Which one? So if I had a choice, probably, because I think it was more of a competitive Asian thing, I would pick Porter and Spence. Little guys fight quick, fast. Seems like the round just don't last. The big heavyweights, you just about sometimes expect for those fights to go boom, over with, right? You throw a punch. So I don't know. But it's just a thing of, that's why I said, who's the biggest name in the sport right now? And like I said, Eddie Mustafa was saying that he thinks it's Canelo. And probably so, because when he fights in LA, he packs the house. He fights in Nevada, he packs the house. He fights in Mexico, he fights in Houston, he fights in Austin. He packs the house. Now, I'm always being told by most people, and this is just a comment, and it's known in the boxing world, they supposedly, that the Hispanics support boxing more than anybody does. I don't think that no one fighter can make a career of one group of people supporting it. I think it boils down to, you have to be well known, well liked, and people have to feel that you're pouring your heart out there every time you step into that ring. Now, that's what I feel. Okay, so I don't know. But when you start looking at the disparities in those numbers, wow, it's just amazing. I just can't believe it. They got $2 million of a piece, I think, and maybe another 10% or 20% of the gate. Maybe they'll come out with 2.5, maybe $3 million. But you start looking at the following week, that these two guys got something like $20 something million between the two of them. That's amazing. Promoter, I know you have the contract with the Zone too, I think. But oh boy, somebody's doing some heck of a promoting. Somebody doing some heck of a managing, one or the other. Let's take some more comments for a minute. Okay. Sheila Jones, and hello Nino, how are you? So glad to see you. Lina Mingo. What's up, Pastor? A good friend of mine I grew up with in Houston also. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me see. Edison, Charlie is watching. Thank you for watching also, Edison. And I got a couple of people. Okay, now, this is funny. If Mike Tyson was fighting today, yeah, right, it'd be no comparison, right? None. Because even though from time to time you'll see us where we do this who we think are the greatest fighters. And I think it's because Mike Tyson was part of that hip hop generation, I guess, when he kind of came along, right? Am I right? Late 80s, mid 80s, 90s, and into the 90s, his name. He became a legend way after his time also. But if he was around today, and the way he had that kamikaze style, he wore the Louis Vuittons, he wore the, what's the guy that got killed, the designer, Versace. He fit the thing at that time. He just didn't care. So no, it would be no comment. If Tyson was here, yeah, I guarantee you he would be more popular than all these guys. But you also know what I think they did during that period of the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s when Holyfield came on. George came back and did Foreman came back into the picture. Larry Holmes was there. And like I said, I don't consider Mike one of the greatest fighters of all time. One of the greatest attractions of all time, no doubt about it. But when you go back and look at that period of time with all of these guys, they made each boxing match, the next one, where people wanted, I missed that one. I want to see this one. Well, Porter and Spence, Golovkin, so be it. See, I got the lights upset because I said Tyson's not top. The lights started flashing all over the building. But and then nobody's talking about Wilder and Ortiz. Nobody's talking about Joshua. Not like in the streets or the barbershops. Nobody's talking about those fights. But that's what guys like that did. Ali was boxing. And, he had George Foreman. He had Joe Frazier. He had Ron Lyle. He had Ken Norton. And all great fighters on anybody's book. Anybody's book. Those were great fighters. Okay? So I say this. Compared to what it was late 70s, what I consider may have been the greatest period of heavyweights in this game. Then you get into the 80s and 90s, where you had Roy Jones Jr., Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, the Eddie Mustafa's, the light heavyweight, the Michael Spinks, where you had guys that everybody wanted to tune in and watch them, and the Dwight Kwawi Muhammad. There were guys, and some guys that you talk about today, they were big names, but Mike Rossman, who was a New Jersey guy, had developed a good following. James Scott was another guy. These guys all of them weren't Hall of Fame boxers, but they were, well, it depends on what you call Hall of Fame, but they were great boxers, okay, great athletes. And they came into a sport, and because of the popularity of the sport, they brought people to the arenas. They watched them. Atlantic City would be filled here on 4 or 5 nights a row sometimes, because if the anticipation was to see Mike Tyson fight at the end of the week, Evander Holyfield fight at the end of the week, Al Cole was fighting here out of Atlantic City, well, we talked about Schuler, Ivan Robertson, Gaddy, and that's what made everybody. It wasn't just that there was one particular fight. And the arena stayed packed here, guys, in the 90s. I'm telling you, it stayed packed. I was here, so I know. Las Vegas, it's just not by accident that they decided to say, we want to start bringing a lot of these big fights back here. Because I'm telling you right now, Atlantic City was killing it. The casinos were in business here, and it was somewhat new, I guess, at that time. I think it's only been about 40 years or something like that now. So it was kind of new. So they were killing it. And Vegas would say, hey, we got to get some of this back. And that's what happened. And then as Atlantic City started to pull out, well, quite naturally, somebody had to keep it going. But now the guy up in New York, I forget the guy that owns the Barclays Arena, he's gotten heavy into the sport for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years. And he spends a ton of money up there as well. So it's a thing of one particular fight or 2 particular fights can really drive the interest in people. And then they start to the point they want to know the boxers. I like to see more promotional stuff done with these guys on the television talk shows. It used to be a time, late night talk shows. You had the Carson, you had the Lettermans. Then there was a couple of Joy Bishop even had a talk show. I mean, some of you guys are who is that? But Joy Bishop was a talk show. Dick Cavett, and these fighters appeared on those shows, right? They did because they had stories behind them. They came out the Olympics, some of them. And their background was interesting. How'd you get to the Olympics? You won the gold medal. Oh, blah. So that was a story. Whether you Sugar Ray Leonard, whether you was George Foreman, whether you Muhammad Ali, or Joe Frazier, you had that. So that was a history. And most of them at the time came from, I would call, less than desirable places or background, maybe, I want to say, because I know where my brother came from. I know what it was like, and I know what a lot of the other guys. So it was like they were overcoming something. I don't think today, with the exception of maybe Manny Pacquiao, they talk about it all the time. They talk about how he lived in the streets of the Philippines, where he's from. And I think with the exception of him, you don't hear very many other stories where these guys are saying, hey, I was born, I come from an impoverished neighborhood. And you have the story where they say, well, I didn't have my dad around, stuff like that. And then, but I think that's become so common over the last 50 years, that's not even much of a story anymore. You hear more in the NBA, I think, now, because these kids are making tremendous amounts of money, and they're getting drafted and they're signing. But I think that from the standpoint of this, I think the storylines in boxing just don't seem to be there. Now, does that mean that a guy has to come from a poor background to be successful? Not necessarily. But in the sport of boxing, it sometimes seems like that's what everybody wants to do. They want to see that you overcame something, right? Whether it be the Olympics, the world title. James Scott went to prison. The white Muhammad Kwawi went to prison, came out, boxed in prison. won world titles. That's a story. George Foreman was a stone up thug, went to the Job Corps, started boxing, won Olympic gold medal, won the heavyweight championship of the world, came from the bloody fifth ward. You know, uh, a lot of Ray Leonard comes out of Baltimore. The projects, I think it's called Palmer Park, Maryland. I may be pronouncing it wrong, but I may be saying the wrong location, but I think it was Palmer Park, Maryland. Tommy Hearns, the streets of Detroit. See, those are the stories to me that gets people really excited. And they start either pulling for this guy or they pull against this guy. And unfortunately, I just don't see enough of those stories. And that's why I'm saying I don't think that but I like to see those guys hit the Tonight shows and, who's out there now? Colbert, like Jimmy Fallon. They're there, Saturday Night Live, do something, but, make a story out of this thing so people can get interest. Everybody keeps saying that MMA has replaced a lot of it. Nah, I don't believe that. Okay. Eddie Mustafa says fans love knockouts, and Canelo provides them. I can't agree with that. Paul Driscoll said the same thing. Jaime Cardenas, okay. Linda Lee Crosette says Ken Norton is my favorite. Well, Norton had the muscles, man. Come on. What's wrong with it? He had the body. Yes, of course he was. But he was a great fighter, too, as well. I think he had a couple of decisions that went against him that would have put him on the Mount Rushmore. The third fight, the fight with Larry, no rematch. The fights with Ali. If he gets those decisions, you see him put on the Mount Rushmore of boxing as well. And Linda says, I grew up in North Philly in the 60s on Monday morning at school. And we talked with, everybody did. Derek James. Oh, there. Now, Derek, I'm going to have to find a way to get you in here with me because everybody's talking about you. And Derek is a very good friend of mine. We traveled some parts of the country together. He's been the trainer of the year, I think, within the last 2 years, Derek. I'm not sure about that, but I know he's been training. He's probably going to get it again this year. And I'll tell you, I didn't like the Porter. I can say this to you because I know we talked, but I didn't like Porter and Spence fight because I knew Porter was going to make it ugly, But hey, we talk all the time, or we text all the time, and Errol came out on top. Congratulations to you, man. And I hope I get a chance to see you. I plan to come down this week, so maybe I get a chance to see you. Let me know if you'll be in Houston. I'd like to come out and talk. Maybe we could set up something where you come up this way and we'll get you to come in and talk on the show. Even if we'll get a chance to come down to your training camp next time you guys go up. And he's also has one of the Charlo brothers. So I don't know when your next fight is, but again, Derek, thank you. Congratulations, man. And you deserve every bit of it. Every bit of it. I'm glad, and thank you for checking in also with us as well. But anyway, as I was back to this pit, we need to promote this sport. MMA, there's a match. Somebody told me, I think that if I'm right, is it Kovalev? Maybe you can tell me. I'll double check this because I know they had planned to put Kovalev on the same night as a big MMA match. And I made a comment on Twitter. I think a good boxing match will outsell an MMA fight. A good MMA. I don't care how good it is because no such thing as a good MMA fight to me. But maybe to you guys, the action, I don't know something I'm missing. But I think a good boxing match with the right names, that's what I'll sell that anytime. And that's why my comment goes right back to the same thing. Who is the biggest name in this sport? Overcome it. And who can overcome the pitfalls of the sport? Errol Spence. Derek, I want to ask you, Errol Porter is calling you guys. I mean, not Porter, I'm sorry. Terrence Crawford is calling you guys out. But I understand you got Mikey Garcia. Is it Mikey? Danny Garcia. Yeah, Danny Garcia coming up. If you got any influence, why not try to bring that fight here to Atlantic City? We could use that, man. I love to see it, and I love to have you here because we could have a lot of fun. But I'm sure that if you had your way, you'd have it right there in Dallas, where you don't have to travel much to leave home. But anyway, again, congratulations to you, Errol, and the whole camp, man. You guys show nothing but class along the way. And we need more of that in boxing as well. So I'm glad to see you. And say hello to everybody in Dallas for me as well. If Golovkin and Canelo comes together, who winds up winning that in a rematch? But he says it's not going to happen. He's saying that Canelo is saying that Golovkin hasn't done anything to deserve a fight with him. He's only beaten everybody in each box, and Canelo hasn't looked outstanding as far as I'm concerned himself. But I think as he's moving up to 175, that's going to be an issue because we could run into that Roy Jones thing. Remember that? Roy Jones went up to heavyweight, came back down to that, and he lost something, and that wasn't really the same anymore. I don't know. This is the thing that ponder. That's what makes boxing the sport that it is. The sport that it is. Last week we had Marty Schuler on, and he talked about a new promotion that he's going to be doing here in Atlantic City as well. But the dates have been moved back. It looks like it's going to be sometime later in December or the first part of January. We'll keep you up on that as well. On top of that, don't forget to check our survey that we have on Facebook as well to ask us. What did it say again? You got
do you find Foreman Boxing Magazine as an informative boxing?
Do you find Foreman Boxing Magazine as an informative source? And you can answer us that same question on boxing. Boxing. Well, we don't talk politics, so why would we? Well, but you can do it on Provide. Send us your comment, and it's on the Facebook as well. And every week we try to bring you something a little different, and then at the same time be a little bit entertaining. But I wanted to find out tonight, who do you think was the most exciting? Who do you think was the biggest draw, the most exciting? And it seems like to me, and what I'm reading, everybody is saying Canelo is the biggest draw. Not the biggest name, but the biggest draw. Finn, hello. Oh, Rocky. Oh, well, you know what? She told me not to forget. This is Eva Rose, so don't forget Rocky. Yeah, you're right, Rocky Marciano. But I didn't go back that far, Eva. I'm not that old yet. Yes, I am. I'm lying. But I didn't get a chance to see the Rocky Marciano fights except on television. Hello, Truman. Thank you for watching. Paul Driscoll. Shelly Williams. Oh, wow. Hi, Shelly. Haven't seen you in a minute. We need fights. That's why we need fights in Atlantic City. We bring all of the bigger people here. The Eva Rose, the Shelly Williams, the Mariam Muhammad. Everybody comes in. The women of boxing. And I think it's just a time now that it's just time for that to come out. Hello to Melvin Partridge, Ike Montross, Iskender Cortel. And if I'm butchering your names, I'm so sorry, but you know who you are. Steve Skackerman. Okay, Paul Driscoll says 100%. Ed Wilhelm, Maxine Henderson, Bill Corrigan. Boy, Bill, I see you a lot and see some of the things you're doing as well. Maybe, you're one of the kind of guys that maybe we can get in to come in, set you up and have you in down here as well. Robert Allen, Nebraska guy. I don't remember the name. Okay, that's just another.
Speak to Ivan Robinson.
And I said hello to Ivan. I always say, Ivan, I want to get you back in. I should have had you in before this Pence thing, but I want to get you back in before the Garcia and Spence fight. You got to come in because I'm hoping, if I can call some people, I'm going to try to see if we can get him on one side of him. Then you got Joe Louis and Jack Johnson, in my opinion. Jack Dempsey probably belongs up there too. He's another great fighter that we don't talk a lot about. But, prior to the television becoming as big as it is, by the time those guys got on the scene, television hadn't gotten in yet. Rocky was like Rocky and Jersey Joe and were two of the guys that came on television a lot. And Jersey Joe Walcott was a tremendous fight between those guys. And we had, just a few weeks ago, we had the fundraiser up at in Camden for the Jersey Joe Walcott statue. So I haven't get a chance to check with oh yeah, let me see this right there. You know what? I'm going to get a chance to do something. I know it may be a little bit late. We only have a few more minutes now. But we're going to come up with some way in order to do this. We have a souvenir from the event, the fundraiser. And this is the bag. And I hope you can see it. It's a picture it's a carry bag. And, if you got a girlfriend, I carry these things myself. Something, a wife or a daughter. And if you're a boxing fan, we're going to give this away to somebody. We got to figure it out. But you got to answer some question that we're going to come up with. Next week, I may be away. I'm going to be on the road.
The question that's on there now.
Well, they can answer the question or not, but we're going to just pull their names out of our hat. They're saying, see, all my producers over here. One talks and the other gets quiet. And I can tell you who the one's not talking. It's Harris, but the other one, But anyway, we got these, and we'd like to give these to you to share these. And
These are from the fundraiser.
Yeah, I said these are from the fundraisers, and we have some things we'd like to share with you. Here's a nice little poster. I got a chance to the Nino Del Buono gave away. These are beautiful things that we want to kind of share these with you. And also we have some things. Harris was telling me that we have some WBC things that we're going to want to be trying to give away as well. So we're going to give away some nice over the coming weeks. We just have to figure out a way to get you these. Jersey Joe Wildcat. These are legends, man.
Yeah, and that was from the fundraiser.
I said this was from the fund. See, that's what I mean. I don't tell you, you can hear the voice. That was from the fundraisers. So we like to figure out a way to get these to you. We'll figure it out. Maybe not this week, but then coming up. Let me see what somebody's saying. MMA seems a more backwards than PJB. That's on I provide. Yeah, you're right. It does. It seems like a more backwards way to me too. And we also have this nice provide shirt that we'd like to give you also. I mean, just to thank you for tuning in, watching, but we're going to come up with more and more things throughout the year as we start to make it. I think the show, we've been here for about 5 months now, and following has really been tremendous. And we just like to have you watching. I enjoy coming here. I'm going to I'll be traveling on the road next week, but I'm going to still try to do the show, hopefully, as I can, because I really hate it when I'm not here. But we get I get a chance to hear from you guys, talk, you throw your little comments. Like I said, let me read a couple of more before I go. Dwayne Brown, hello, Dwayne. Nebraska guy. He said he's talking about Crawford. Salazar answered his own question. Okay, number 147. No, I can't give him the number 1 at 147. Errol Spence deserves the number 1 at 147. You know why? He has all of the belts. All right. Now the old saying is, uneasy is the head that wears the crown. Well, you got to knock the crown off. So if his promoters can get together, go get it. But that's not going to be an easy task. Okay. Hello to Shooter Davis. Mildred Green is watching also. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. So we're going to try to come up with a way to get you some of these nice things and some of our WBC collection that we have. Harris is part of the WBC's bullying campaign. Actually, we joined a few years back, so we've been participating in that with that as well. And maybe in the future we'll get a chance to have some of our WBC counterparts here on the show with us and talk about some of the things that the boxing organizations are doing just as well. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, as always. It's been some great fights the last couple of weekends, so let's keep it up. And hopefully, November 23rd, I think that's the next big fight that's coming up, right? I think it's maybe something before that, but I know November 23rd would be Wilder and Ortiz. But in the last few weeks, we've had some great fights. The Darrell fight was pretty good, of course. He didn't come out on top of that. We got Lomachenko. I think it's getting scheduled for another fight to come up. Gervonta Davis. We got a lot of guys to talk about. We just didn't cover them all, but tonight I had those particular questions since I didn't have a guest and I was just running my mouth. I didn't have a guest, but I wanted to come here and kind of talk about some of those things tonight. So I want to thank you for tuning in, and it's been fun. And I'll see you next week. But as always,